Well, hello, everybody. Sean Palmer here. Seth Kamen's on his way. This is Seth and Sean Sports. We are here at the first week of May, so you know what that means. That means it's Seth and Sean's birthday. Yes, we had birthday weekend this past week where I came up to Seth Kamen's home, surprised him a great deal, by great work by his wife, and I'm sure Seth will give his lovely wife Carly some credit when he gets on the phone and gets on the air. Just a great weekend of friendship, and then I have since moved on here to Connecticut. You can see I am once again in my nephew's bedroom and making this my studio for today. And I will be back in Atlanta next week. Some surprising news that we will be having shows both from Abu Dhabi and from Greece. So we're adding a couple more countries to the mix for the Seth and Sean Sports Radio. We have had shows in, I believe, Australia, London, France, Japan. I'm not sure if we had it in China. Australia, New Zealand. So we have been an internationally, globally recognized podcast. And here we are again today in lovely Hartford, Avon, Connecticut. And I think Seth is in Berkeley Heights, so which is his home, or he's in Livingston. Not really sure which one he is in today. So what has been going on? Well, Aaron, we didn't get to talk a lot about this last week because of the draft preview, but Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet. And I know I gave a little bit of my opinion last week as to how I viewed that. And I was on the Gary Age show this week, and when he asked me, what is success if you are a New York Jets fan with Aaron Rodgers? Well, first of all, I got to tell you, I'm not happy about getting him as a person. Look, he could be a great player, and teams that I have rooted for in the past and teams that I continue to root for have guys that you are not happy to have on your team. They are complete jerks. But overall, I think most of the people that I root for, most of the athletes that I pay good money to see, most of the teams that I go and frequent, I guess, their stadiums, they employ good people, or I'd like to think they were good people. They're not outwardly bad people. They're not outwardly people that I have problems with. They're not outwardly people that I consider liars or cheats or just people that I would not want to be associated with. And then the Jets go and acquire Aaron Rodgers. And between everything that went on with the vaccine, where I'm immunized, the crap that he pulled. Look, this is the stuff that he pulls. And granted, the Jets have employed Brett Favre too. So if you can't beat him, join him, I guess. But the fact is, Brett Favre was just somebody that I think Seth's trying to connect. Anyway, Brett Favre was somebody that you really didn't like what he did on the field. But
hey, buddy.
Hey, but we're talking about Aaron Rodgers. But off the field, Brett Favre didn't have conspiracy theories, didn't have this and that, and the world is flat, and he wasn't off the beaten path like Kyrie Irving. It is, yeah, he's not. Brett Favre's not a good person either. I mean, he robbed the state of Mississippi from millions of dollars, but Aaron Rodgers is just somebody that I find incredibly hard to root for as a person. Yeah, he's going to take his $60 million and go home. And Seth, you and I both
talked. He's going to go home. He's going to go sit front row with. He'll go sit front row with the Knicks game.
Right, but we talked about this last week, where where I believe he's going to screw the Jets. I think he says 2 years, where something along the lines of, I'm not in it for 1 year, but I'm not promising 2 years. And my brother is totally on board with, first of all, we have Seth and Sean mixed up. So there we go. And Jay is totally of the theory that Aaron Rodgers is going to go play for the Minnesota Vikings next year. He thinks that he's completely going to screw the Packers and the Jets. And look, if he went to play for Minnesota, Kirk Cousins is probably going to be gone too. So, I mean, is it possible? Sure. Now, I know last week we did our NFL draft. I know we both stunk up the joint as usual, but I think everybody probably stunk up the joint this year. How'd we do?
I didn't do day 2. I didn't look to see how if anything.
Fair enough.
But I was beating you by 20 points.
And how many points do you have?
It was like 70 to 50.
Okay, well, 70 is a good showing by you. 70 would be a good showing by either one of us. Remember, maximum 150 points.
So, yeah, I'm pulling it up as we speak. But I had a couple. I didn't have his back. I had a pretty decent. But it was assuming I didn't throw it up too badly. Here you go. Worst mock ever. So, yep. Just kind of pulling it up on another screen.
Yeah, we just didn't do well. I mean, look.
Yeah,
I had one right.
We did. We got the first one right. Your number 2 got you 0, and that was probably the precursor.
Yes. Tyrese Wilson.
We both got Emmanuel Forbes right. I got Smith Nigba going to Seattle. I got Banks going to the Giants. I got New Orleans taking Miles Murphy. So you didn't have any other 5s, except for you had Jalen Carter.
Your Banks going to the Giants. You shouldn't have gotten a 5.
I had him at number 25.
You had him going one pick before the Giants?
I had him. Maybe I did it wrong. I'll go back and review.
Okay, you don't get a 5 for Banks. You didn't have Banks actually.
No, I would have him at 4.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Maybe either way, doesn't really matter.
I was going to say I don't think most likely that it's going to change 19 points worth.
No. That's true. So you're happy with your draft?
I'm ecstatic. I mean, what did we need? What did I want? I wanted a corner number 1.
Yep.
I wanted an interior lineman number 2. And I wanted a wideout number 3 because we brought in 5 different wideouts. So my assumption is that we were good on that. So what did we do? We got the first or second best center in the draft. We got the number 3 or number 4 cornerback in the draft, the one I wanted. And we got a receiver that very well could have gone in the first round.
Yep.
And we got a legitimate backup for Barkley in the 5th round with Eric Gray from Oklahoma. I mean, what more can I really ask for?
No, I think
I'm happier with my draft. The only thing I'm unhappy with is that Philadelphia killed it yet again.
Oh, yeah. Well, when you have 2 picks in the first round and one is in the top 10, chances are you're going to do something good. The thing about Philly is that they not only do something good in the first round, but they do it in the second and in the third and in the fourth and continuously. I think it's amazing. The day stat by Peter King, the day before last year's draft, they had 0 Georgia Bulldogs on their team, and now they have 6 Georgia Bulldogs on their team. But winning breeds winning, right? I mean, you bring in winning players. And look, Jalen Carter, for all intents and purposes, from every draft book I've ever read this year, for every scouting report I've seen of this year, he was the number 1 talent in the draft. So if you could control him, and by control I mean keep him in line off the field, not controlled. I don't mean controlled, that is a bad word. But if you can keep them in line off the field, Jalen Carter is going to replace Jason Hargrave in that middle. And he's only going to replace him for $4 million, not the $11 million that Hargrave gets a year. So what Philly continues to do is they let go of their more expensive players and supplement them through the draft. And they do it very well. I mean, Miles Sanders got a huge deal to go to Carolina. And what did they do? They went and got DeAndre Swift on a 5th-year contract. And they picked up Rashard Penny for $4 million. I mean, that's a better twosome than Miles Sanders.
Yep, agreed. No, look, they're the overwhelming favorite in the NFC at this point.
I think they're the overwhelming favorite in the NFL.
Too early to tell. I can never put anyone as an overwhelming favorite in the NFL. When you look at how stacked the AFC is, I mean, I don't
Which
know
is why I think they're the overwhelming favorite in the NFL. Because if you are the best team in the NFC and you don't have to beat your crap out of each other to do it, they are going to be they're the presumptive 1 seed in the NFC,
yes.
right? Okay. The 1 seed, while not historically accurate, generally does have the best path to the Super Bowl.
Yes, it does.
They do get the bye. They do have home field advantage. Okay. Now, historically, it hasn't always worked out that way. Packers being the number 1 team that suffers from that. But they have the easiest path. So if they have the easiest path from the NFC, and the NFC is that much weaker than the AFC, to me, that means it's likely they're going to be in the Super Bowl. And if they're going to be in the Super Bowl, then they have a 50% chance of winning it. While there is no other team I would put even close to that. So I'll give them a 40 to 45% chance of winning the Super Bowl this year. I don't think if I was betting on a team to win the Super Bowl, if I'm betting on a team to win the Super Bowl, I'm betting on the Eagles.
It's Philly. That's fine.
And not
but
because
that's different than being a 40 to 45%.
Well, but from your vantage point, you're not picking an AFC team because they have to go through the AFC. My point is, yes. I think Philly will make it through the NFC without a problem. So if they make it through, then they're already there. So that's why I would bet on it. Not
but
because
literally, if you're saying they're a 50 so say they're a 50-50 once they get to the Super Bowl. Yep. By giving them a 40% chance, you're literally saying they have an 80% chance to go through the NFC. Nobody can say that.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. That may be a little high.
Yeah, that's not a little high. That's But yes, I agree. They are the definitive favorite, or have been a favorite at this point.
They are the ones I would put money on. So, okay, so happy birthday! I wanted to give I gave props to your wife before you came on. She did a bang up job.
She did.
She
did. My wife's awesome. If she ever watched the show, she would
next level.
Yeah.
But we also
I tell to thousands and thousands of watchers.
But the problem is, if your wife ever watched a show, we couldn't talk about her. So
it wouldn't be as much fun.
It wouldn't be as much fun. So we have an NFL draft, we have a birthday, and we have NBA and NHL playoffs, and we have Hunter Dickinson. So first of all, my condolences.
That was going to be my 5 minutes. The feeling was that it was Maryland, Kansas. That was what the Maryland boards had been saying for a while.
But I would say this isn't NIL. This is.
Oh, no. This is NIL.
Really? You think this is?
Yeah. This because for a couple of reasons. Number one, we knew we did not have the highest NIL. We knew that going in. What we didn't realize, and this is the story going around the Maryland boards, is Kansas was 3 to 4 times higher than ours, which means they're looking at $2 to $3 million
for 1 year.
For 1 year. And if that is true, then I don't blame him for going, and I don't blame Maryland for not matching.
And I don't blame anybody for going. That's the thing that this has become the NBA draft.
Yeah, this is. As you said, the fear is that literally you're going to have 5 to 8 teams that are, and then you're going to have 8,000 haves and 8,000 have-nots. We shouldn't be matching $2 million for a guy to play 1 year.
Nobody should be paying that,
No,
regardless of
no.
match.
What if you're going to have? I mean, again, my thought is if almost have this is everyone's got $2 million or $3 million and allocate it however the hell you want.
Yep.
Because if you're paying $8 to $10 million for a starting lineup of a college basketball team, then yeah, I mean,
So Jimmy B was right. After all that, Jimmy Boeheim was right.
there you go.
Oh,
We don't know what schools are applicable, but that is the rumor that it was not. We thought they would be a couple 100,000 higher, and again, we're guessing here on the numbers, but
sure.
the feeling is it was 3 times higher than what we were offering, and for that you can't blame him. And look, he would have done fine. He would have done fine at Maryland. Willard's a good coach and would have helped him develop as well. I'm not saying he's Bill Self, but he's a good coach. And I don't think that's just not how I think Maryland's going to run their. I don't think they're going to blow. I don't think they're going to blow their cap or whatever you want to call it for one guy who's going to be there for 1 year, because it's going to it's going to bring out resentment from other players. It is what it is. I'm disappointed. I think we would have been a top 5 team nationally if he came. I think we would have been absolutely stacked. But what can you do?
Well, and this is what we're going to look through this type of lens going forward. And it's not. It used to be you were on the edge of your seat when I remember Nerlens Noel going to Kentucky over going to Syracuse. And look, we thought we would have like a 10% chance of getting Noel, right? But we were in the top 3, and we were on the edge of our seat. We were on the edge of our seat, and he went to Kentucky, and we were disappointed, but we knew where we were, and we knew where he was going. Now, you feel like that's just look. Blue chips is now reality, and that's the worst part about it, right? I mean, what used to be. Eric Dickerson, everything Eric Dickerson did back then would have been legal today. And we're going to talk about this over and over again with every big prospect, and it sucks. It has, because it takes away, at least to me, the fun of
Bush should get back his hat.
Yeah. Reggie Bush should 100% get back his
because it was illegal then. Because it was illegal then, you can't retroactively fix. Because it should, but that's the idea.
That's the idea. Okay,
it's frustrating, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Okay.
Speaking of frustrating,
what's that?
To all those Ranger fans. Speaking of frustrating, to all those Ranger fans.
Please tell us why that would be frustrating.
Well, you were there. Yeah. You saw the text messages that were coming in, or the Twitter that was coming in. Thank you, Devil fans, from the Islander fans.
Oh no, Islander fans were ecstatic. I mean, there was Thursday was a hard day for me in that the Islanders lost, and I really think that the Devils Islanders series would have been great. I don't think. Look, I love the fact that the Rangers lost to the Devils, and look, if you're an Islanders fan, you're rooting against the Rangers at all costs. The Devils are a slow second, not even close. But we saw last night. The Hurricanes-Devils matchup is not a good one for the Devils at all. It is.
You're fading. I can't hear you.
Yeah,
you're fading out.
You're fading in and out. I'm not sure if it's me or you, but I will move to a different part of the room.
I was going to say, you're fading out in and out.
Okay, so we're going to move downstairs. But anyway, what I was saying was that
I'm not too crazy about it. I think what you said was that it's not looking like a great matchup for the Devils. It may not be. Go see about a game 1, 2 days after 7, to be perfectly honest, against a rival, whether the Rangers consider them a rival or not, and then had to fly out. Let's see where game 2 is before Sean. So, But the Devils are, you have two sides of the playoff equation with the NHL and the NBA. The NHL is an absolute and utter free for all because your top three teams that you thought would probably win the Stanley Cup, the Twins, the Avalanche, the Lightning, all out. So you have 8 teams left. I think the most recent team to win was Carolina, which was 15 years ago. You have Toronto, which hadn't won a series since I think 20 years and hadn't been relevant since Doug Gilmore in 93, 90. You have Devils who are incredibly young, but talented. You've got Vegas, you've got Seattle. I mean, yeah, it's all over the place. There is nobody could. The NHL, I was going to say pretty much I was saying the NHL and the NBA are kind of it's such differentiation. You know, both of them are fascinating playoffs, and not just because we're sports fans. I mean, but the NBA, it's all superstars, all superstar matchups. In the NHL, it's a free for all. Nobody has a clue who's going to win this thing.
Yeah, and if you look at the NHL and you look at the prototype, what matchups you want, I will tell you that what I was trying to say before was that the Devils matchup is not a good one for the Devils. It's just not. The Devils are a very loose.
They're probably loose Carolina's probably the most. Carolina's probably the most disciplined team left. What'd you say?
Yeah, for some reason my internet is not working great today. So I'm going to try and go downstairs. I'm going to keep moving around this house. At some point it'll work. But all right, let's try down here. What I was trying to say was that the Devils the Devils do not play a great. Yeah, there we go. Let's try that way. The Devils do not play the right style against Carolina. Is this better? Is this better? Can you hear me? Okay, but you're still breaking up. All right. Nope. I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh, look, you're a bigger expert. Is more of an expert on the NHL than I am. But I look at this and you see Seattle, Dallas. Pavelski scores 4 goals, they lose. Edmonton, I forget who they played. Oh, Vegas. Draisaitl scores 4 goals and they lose. I mean, to me, the dream matchup is New Jersey, Edmonton. I think that would just be the first team to score 10 wins. But either way, for the Devils, it's a success. They were, the thought was they would hope to make the playoffs this year. I don't think they thought 110 points or whatever it was, plus a first round victory with some cards. But we're a team built for a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. But what should be fun is you have all these teams and really any of these, whether you end up with an all Canada matchup of Toronto and in Montreal, or you end up with whatever it is, it'll be nice because it's just new teams. There's no Kings, there's no Chicago, there's no Colorado, there's no Pittsburgh, there's no Washington. I mean, these are the 12 years. Nobody has a clue who's going to pull this off, and that's what's so fun. And then you go to the NBA, and I mean, Adam Silver has to be beside himself with joy over these matchups. You have Knicks Heat. You have Philly Boston. If there were probably the 4 biggest markets in the East. I know Atlanta's a bigger town than Boston, but let's be honest here. Nobody cares about sports like Boston does. Certainly not in Atlanta. Obviously the Philly with Embiid hurt, and yes, Harden was able to kind of turn back the 2018, turn back to Harden 2018, 45 in the game 1, but the more practical may have been last night's demolition. Without Embiid, I just think, and I'll be honest, I don't know. I think I like Miami. I like to win, assuming Butler can play in game 3 at 80%. Miami wins game 1, and without Butler, without Hero, is down 2 with a minute to go in game 2. So I do like Miami, but the Knicks, I mean, Brunson looks like a steal. We talked about this last time. he looks like a steal based on the contract. And that was not something anyone has anticipated at $26, $27 million a year. And then in the West, what do you have? You have, it's the funniest thing is you have the team with the best record. And of all the 8 teams, they're the one that is talked about the least in the Nuggets. You have Phoenix bringing in Durant, trying to get Chris Paul a championship. You have LeBron and AD in LA, who obviously look rejuvenated, based whether on Pelinka trades or based on whatever you want to call it. Then you have, of course, Golden State, which is trying to keep their dynasty, 4 championships in 8 years. Yeah, their younger players have not developed or have not become what they anticipated. Weissman's traded. Kuminga is kind of a nothing. But you have Curry, who scored 50 in a ridiculous performance in Game 7. You have Thompson, you have Green, you have Wiggins. And we'll see how it goes. I don't take too much into I think Game 2 is a must for Golden State. I don't think losing Game 1 is particularly painful. But then you look at Phoenix Denver. 2-0. Everyone has slept on this Denver team because no one really pays attention to them. They have the 2-time MVP. They finally have Jamal Murray healthy. Michael Porter's healthy. Casey. And who went in Jamal Murray, who was their ultimate clutch playoff guy. He went, I think, 4 for 17 in Game 2. Their defense held it down. I think, Caldwell Pope, of all players, pulls this off for them. So now Phoenix has to win 4 out of 5. And the likelihood is not overly high. As great as their 1-2 punch is. This is not a team that's melded together yet, and we'll see what happens. But you're looking 2 California teams, a Phoenix team, a Denver team. This is all anyone who follows the NBA hope for from a rating standpoint, because these are just superstar matchups. And as fun as the hockey one may be, somehow if it ends up being a Carolina Vegas matchup or a Carolina Edmonton or whatever it may be, Jersey matchups, probably not as much. Probably Gary Bettman's probably not looking at this over. That Gary Bettman's been there for 25 years and nobody's ever really seemed that happy with him. So I guess it doesn't matter. It's going now. It's obviously the beginning of baseball season. I guess a month in, it's too early to start baseball. I don't know how anyone does. But the drafts, we take a look through it. Philly killed it. Seattle taking Witherspoon, who's the number 1 cornerback, taking JSN, who's the number 1 wide receiver. I didn't understand the thought process on taking Richardson, the quarterback from Florida. Supposedly that was in play. Smith has kind of earned this job, but again, I guess you can get out of it in a year. And the thought is that Richardson needs a year anyway. But all in all, a fun draft, an interesting one. I think there was 40 some odd trades. I don't understand what the Lions did. I don't get it. You pick a running back at 12 who would have been there at 18. You pick a linebacker at 18 who would have been there for their 2nd round pick. You trade Swift for a 4th round pick. You brought in Montgomery. What was the point? I realize David Montgomery from the Bears is very different than different kind of running back than Johnny Gibbs from Alabama. Gibbs more of a speedster, 3-down back. Montgomery more of a workhorse. But it doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense. Trying to think what else. Oh, look who's back.
Hey, I'm back. Again. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Apologies for the interruption. I heard a little bit about Kuminga.
Well, what I was saying, we were talking about how Adam Silver must be absolutely through the moon with the matchups he has in the NBA.
Well, the ratings, are going to be
through the roof.
The ratings are going to be huge. It seems like we still have some technical difficulties. So, Seth, I think this is going to be probably one of those shows where we stop at this point because you're on delay,
Okay.
I'm on delay. So we'll pick this up next week. All right.
On delay.
All right, everybody.
All right.
Sorry about that. All right. We'll talk
All right.
later.